Hey guys, Kenny with Ugly Tent. I'm out today on this frigid January day. It is about 12 degrees Fahrenheit. It's supposed to get down to about 4 degrees tonight. So we're going to use our new One Tigers tarp, and we're going to build a miner's tent with that. We're going to use the tarp and make a miner's tent to tarp configuration. My mouth's freezing up, it's hard to talk. Anyway, thanks for coming along. Hope you enjoyed the video. So I'm gonna lash it up to keep it from coming undone, but as far as the strength goes, plenty strong enough. My neck knife on, and this is a perfect time for using a neck knife when it's cold like this. You don't have to go through all your layers to get your knife, just to cut cordage or whatever. For this miner's tent, we're going to do the back hole will be on the, might be on the inside, maybe. I want a hole here. I want to keep a hole in the tarp. I'm going to try to see if this works for the smoke to come out of it. So let's see what we can do. I had to scoot the poles in, raise them up a little higher. That way I can make it narrower so the tarp to fit around. This gives you a better understanding of what I'm trying to do here. So this is, again, the miner's configuration with a little variation with the 4 poles to make it more of a teepee. That way I can have a little bit of a chimney for my firebox stove. Let's hope that works. You can already start to see the ice crystals forming in. Put down my sportsman's blanket. This is a 5x7. It's called a sportsman's blanket. Reflective on one side, like an orange on the other. I've got to get a fire going though. We're getting pretty cold. I don't know if you can see the crystallization already occurring on the tarp on the inside. So let's get at it. Let's get a fire in here and that's what we can do, warm this place up. So, other than going out for firewood, I'm going to stay in here where it's fairly warm. I haven't got my thermometer out yet. I've yet to do that. But once I get that out, we'll figure out how cold it is. I'm guessing it's probably around 5 degrees. It's pretty daggone cold. But we got our little firebox stove going. and we are inside our shelter. Yeah, it's pretty nice stuff. So, always excited to be out here, even on 2-degree night. This is the new One Tigers tarp, and it's doing really well. So it's a lot bigger than the other one. It has the cuts in it. I'm gonna have to look it up and remember see what it's called. Bruce from Nature Calls, when he makes his tarps, he puts that little arc in the cut, so that way when you pull it tight, you don't have all those loose ends. There's a name for it, I can't remember. But the chimney idea is working out pretty well. So I'm gonna put a reflective blanket up behind me, and that should help some more. Of course, it's probably gonna mess up my camera big time. It's gonna be a nightmare to record in here. The lighting. I'm getting hungry. I'm gonna have to break out the old mountain house. I gotta be real careful what I burn, because I'm inside the shelter and I don't want to get all that smoke. So, but here goes the Mylar blanket. I checked the temperature and it's about 10 degrees. So it says real feel was 1. It feels like 1. I don't know, I guess the wind chill or the moisture and how all that factors in, but it's pretty cold. But I've got the shelter a lot warmer. It feels pretty good in here. I mean, you know, it feels like maybe 30. I'm trying to thaw out my bottles of water, and I got my heavy cover canteen cup on the firebox stove, and we're gonna need a mountain house. There's your commercials for all three of some of my favorites there. Can't say enough good things about my gear. Love my gear. So, with that being said, for the new year, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something new. And what I came up with, well, actually, it wasn't me, it was my buddy John. What he came up with was a new name for what I do. I do bushcraft, but it's not really a traditional bushcraft, as you well know. I like to mix in the new gear. I like to try out new gear and new technology. I think it's fun, but I like to do a lot of the old school stuff too. But I'm not a traditional bushcrafter. And some of the trolls will verify, or some of the trolls will agree with me, you know, when they start saying, well, that's not bushcraft. You need to pick roots and berries and eat, and, you know, instead of mountain house or whatever. Anyway, so what I've decided, through the help of my buddy John, is that we are going to call Ugly Tent neo-bushcraft and survival. So we're going to use the term neo-bushcraft, and that's still doing bushcraft, but using a lot of the new techniques, new gear, and new technology. Well, whether you like it or don't like it, that's what I'm going to do this year. So we'll see how it goes. I like to at least give it a year. That's what I've been doing with my YouTube stuff. I give it a year and see how it goes, and then I change it if I don't like it or try something different. Again, I've really enjoyed last year doing the tarp configurations, and I'm continuing with that. It's been awesome. It's been fun. I really enjoyed that. So, well, enough waffling, as Foul Wanderer says. I'm going to cut up some firewood while I wait for my water to boil. Then I'm going to fix some mountain house and start getting my bed ready, because there's not much to do when it's this cold except cut firewood and try to stay warm. So if I'm going to get my sleeping bag ready, and I'll be crawling in and out of it throughout the night and getting firewood. But so far so good. We're surviving this extreme cold weather challenge. Hopefully we'll get down to 0 tonight. If not, we'll get real close. I'm going to give that sleeping bag a good test and give ourselves a good test. But all is well. And tonight on the menu is teriyaki chicken with rice and veggies. Let's see what the hack is on the bottom. Not only will soap make you smell better, but also helps relieve the itchiness of mosquito bites. There's your nugget of wisdom from Mountain House. my battery life is dwindling fast, so I'm probably not going to record much more tonight. I'll probably say goodbye or say goodnight when I get to bed, but after that I think we're going to have to turn it off. It's going quickly. I'm going to try to warm it up. I'll put it in my pocket. Anyway, thanks for coming along. We'll see you in a little bit. So, my chicken teriyaki is done. Look at that. Huh? Let's see. Let me turn the camera around. Yeah. Looks good. Nothing like a good hot meal. I wanted to show you the, where am I at? There I am. There we go. I wanted to show you the setup from the outside and the moon. Got a really good shot of the moon here. So there's the tent. Very nice. And there's the moon. So that was the last good video I shot of the night. You can see how the tarp was actually doing what it was supposed to do. The smoke was rising up through it just like a teepee. It was coming out the top of it, and it was doing great. So I went in and laid down and got my sleeping bag, and I was nice and toasty. I'd actually got the tarp up to about 25 degrees, 30 degrees, and it was 2 degrees outside at the time. So it was doing really well. It was heating really well. Everything was going great. And then the wind shifted. The wind picked up. Something happened to the wind, and now the smoke was rolling into my shelter. It was no longer coming out of the chimney like it was supposed to. And this is where I ran into problems. So I laid there in my sleeping bag as long as I could. I got as low as I could to get away from the smoke, hoping the smoke would go back to the way it was, going up out of the so-called chimney, out of the tarp. But it just kept rolling in and coming down lower and lower to where I couldn't breathe. I had my sleeping bag over my face, trying to keep from breathing the smoke. I was burning my eyes, I was coughing, I was gagging. So I had to unzip, and I went climbing out of my shelter at 2 degrees in my stocking feet, as they say, and in a pair of socks and long johns. That's all I was in, and I was freezing, but it was either that or I was going to die in the air smoke inhalation. So it became a real survival situation. I mean, I had to do something or I was going to be injured or hurt, or maybe I'm not going to say worse, I'm not going to die out there, but 2 degrees is really cold, and that smoke inhalation is very serious. It's not something you want to take lightly. I moved the firebox stove out of the shelter. It was still blowing into it. I opened the flaps even wider. The only thing that was doing was letting in cold air. The frost was starting to crystallize on the tarp. So I thought, well, I can climb in my sleeping bag and wait this out, or I can reconfigure the shelter like I know how to do, that I know it'll work in cold weather, and that is a low pitch shelter like I've done before. You just make a low wedge, low plow point wedge, or a low wedge, or a low lean-to, and then put your fire close to it. Then I'd have to rebuild the fire. There's just a lot going into it. So as I started to readjust everything and realized how cold I was getting, my hands were getting numb, I thought, you know what, if I'm going to tear this down, I'm going to pack up and go home. And that's exactly what happened. I packed up and I tucked my tail and went home. It wasn't a total loss because I learned a lot. I was trying something new, which obviously didn't work. It worked for a while. 4 hours is long enough to where I thought, hey, this is gonna do well. This is gonna work, and it did. It worked well for that time. But once it changed, man, it changed for the worse, and I couldn't hang. So I did try, I did learn, and that's the whole process. But I wanted to share that with you. I didn't want you to, I don't want you just to see my successes. You know, I want you to see the failures too. And this was a failure, not because of the tarp setup was not a failure. I mean, I set it up the way it's supposed to go, but just the idea I had with the firebox stove or the fire inside the shelter did not work. That's okay. Again, that's how we learn. So hopefully this video was entertaining, if nothing less. Maybe you learned something from it. I know I did. I learned a lot on this trip, and won't make those mistakes again. But I look forward to going out the next time, and I won't give up. We'll keep trying. So, but thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Why do we fall, Bruce? So we can learn to pick ourselves up.